Hey there, I'm Kevin Downey, and I run an agency called Kevin M. Downey, where we help B2B companies with their sales and marketing efforts. You can visit our website at kevinmdowney.com. Okay, today's topic: should you hire or outsource your lead generation business development efforts for your B2B company, right? So if you're an owner or principal, or even in the a sales executive, VP of sales, should you bring that in-house or should you outsource it? And I am telling you right now, overall, you want to bring it in-house. Whether you utilize reps from the United States or utilize reps, let's say in Southeast Asia or Latin America, where we recruit a ton, you're going to be better served doing it yourself, bringing it in-house. Let me explain why. So there are exceptions to this rule, but overall, I want it in-house for my clients. And the reason is because outsourcing became really popular kind of in that window of obviously it started all the way back in, let's say, the 70s, but it really became popular in, let's say, the 90s, 2000s. And for the last, 15, 20 years, we've had this kind of run of outsourcing, really low dollar reps, build a process, build a script, and just play a numbers game with it. They're not really trained on your products and services. They don't work for you and your company. So you're depending upon the volume play, the numbers game, to deliver the leads if they just follow the process, right? So one of the challenges there is they can't answer questions. They have to be very scripted, and it's got to be, very cursory kind of lead gen. But it did work, right? It worked somewhat effectively, and for some very effectively for maybe a long time. But as of late, we have seen it really fall apart in terms of its effectiveness. And let me explain to you why. The reality is that getting decision makers on the phone has become more and more difficult. It was getting more difficult, obviously, going into COVID. COVID exacerbated the situation tremendously. And then, of course, there's the after effects of COVID and remote work and nobody really being in the office anymore. Even if they are, it goes to a voicemail extension and then they never answer their phone. So connection rates are much, much lower, right? I'm hearing 2-3% kind of numbers, right? So if the connection rates are that low, right? If you outsource, you don't have the numbers to take effect and make up for the fact that the rep really doesn't bleed your company's products and services. They don't represent your company. They're just a rep, right? They're kind of in no man's land in terms of representation. They work for the agency. They're representing your product, maybe products and services. It may be full-time, it may be part-time, but they really aren't engaged with you. And when I survey companies that have done outsourcing, especially in the last few years, they have told me overwhelmingly that, and I certainly know this from the inside of the industry, that the reps really don't get trained on the products and services. They're trained on process and script. They follow that, but they can't go outside the box. They can't stick and move. And that was okay when we can land the numbers on the phone, right? But we can no longer land the numbers on the phone. So the process-driven lead generation really isn't effective enough anymore. That's the main reason I want to bring it in-house. Now, I'm going to give you a caveat to this. But the other side of it is, if we say that it's so email driven now, then why do we need the rep? Why are we outsourcing it? Let's just do email then, right? So very, very hard to justify outsourcing to people that do not breathe your company. They don't have it in their heart and soul. So that's why I want to see you bring it in-house. Now, exceptions to the rule. A couple of U.S. agencies that I know, I'm not going to name them on this video, very good at what they do. Full-time representative, email on the back end, management over the rep, doing business development for your company. But they're going to start at $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 a month, somewhere in there. If it's anything less than that, they're probably not built to sustain, to really stick in the agency and to stick with your company and represent your products and services. Who can afford $8,000 to $12,000 a month for a rep to do business development? Enterprise companies certainly can. Mid-market could justify it sometimes. Most of the time not, and certainly not in small business. You just can't turn the business development into customers, into paying revenue fast enough to justify that kind of monthly expenditure for so many companies, right? Some maybe occasionally can, but generally speaking, small business certainly cannot. The other reason you might want to outsource, and let's say somebody who's got reps in the Philippines, Malaysia, Singapore, or even Latin America, nearshore, is if what the person that is doing to do the outreach is something they can achieve by getting a hold of receptionists. So they're qualifying pieces of information. They're confirming a piece of information about the company. They're confirming a decision maker name, something to that effect. Then I could see it and I can justify it. But when it comes to actually diagnosing pain point, getting to a decision maker, having a conversation, utilizing a multi-channel approach of phone, email, and LinkedIn, there's no way that an outsourced agency, unless that rep is trained on your products and services, dedicated to you, and is in it for the long haul, there is really no way for an outsourced agency to be able to pull that off for you effectively in a modern setting. And therefore, I want to see you bring it in-house. Don't care if it's in the United States or if you have to be on a tighter budget. Reps in Latin America, nearshore are outstanding, but I think it needs to be brought in-house because there's a process there. It's multi-channel approach, and I want them trained on your products and services thoroughly. And sometimes I would say that could take a month, 2 months, even 3 months to really get the hang of it. And that's why you've got to bring it in-house. Okay? All right, really appreciate it, guys. If you need help, we're glad to help you. Check us out, kevinmdowney.com, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks.